say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Fantastic. I like the energy, but I need more. I need more. This is just three. I need to get high on this. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Okay, fantastic. So here we go. Victoria Ibhawa is a senior human resource management professional with multi-sector professional experience in professional services, fast-moving consumer goods, oil and gas. Attaining leadership positions at Deloitte, Nigeria, she was the country head of human resources, and at Coca-Cola Hellenic, Nigeria, she was a senior manager, organizational development, and employer branding. Prior to joining Deloitte, she worked as a consultant at KPMG Professional Services and is currently HR consultant for Shell companies in Nigeria. Wow, that's a good place to clap and a good place to connect. Victoria is a graduate of University of Benin. She holds an MBA from the prestigious Lagos Business School and also attended IESC Business School in Spain. She's certified by the Human Resources Certification Institute in the United States. She's a global professional in human resources. She's a senior professional in Human Resources International, that's SPHIR. She is also a certified member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, that's MCIPMN. Victoria is SHL certified in psychometric analysis and Hofstede trained in organizational culture consulting. Victoria is also a John Maxwell certified coach. A respected career coach, Victoria has extensive experience as both an HR practitioner and a consultant, having worked with leading multinational companies in capacities over the course of her career. A multiple-time HR director panel discussant at the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria, Victoria is also a facilitator at the Institute's learning program and has served at the Institute's Committee on Strategic Planning initiatives. She's a well-recognized scholar and has facilitated sessions for leading organizations across industries, including Lagos Business School, Guarantee Trust Holding Company, Leap Africa, Lafarge Africa, Unilever, LifePage Group, ISN Medical, El Rishon Group, and Access Bank. In 2018, Victoria founded a nonprofit platform for professionals called Inspired for Impact, a platform that aims to support professionals to achieve their optimum potential while taking charge of their careers and lives and purpose, achieving sustained impact in their various spheres of influence. Victoria is also the convener of the annual Inspired for Impact Summit that brings together leading professionals and a joint platform of experience sharing and impact. She also hosts the Living Inspired series, where she shares insights on professional matters with a focus on personal growth and the achievement of purpose-driven career goals. Victoria currently serves as a board member of LifePage Group Nigeria, STEM Hub Foundation Canada, and the Entrepreneurship Academy Nigeria, where she's also a faculty member. With a resounding round of applause, let's make welcome our teacher, facilitator, trainer, coach for today, Victoria Ibhawa. You're welcome. So good to have you join us this evening. Your mic is muted, Ma.
Yeah, I just realized that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, confirm you can hear, you can see me. I see I've been highlighted already.
I can hear you loud and clear. We're ready to go.
Awesome, awesome. I want to say thank you for the privilege to be here. It's a great one. I'm going to, as I speak, I'm trying to also share my screen. So as soon as it comes up, please do let me know that it's up. You can see it, right?
Yes, the screen is up.
I think I can see it. Okay. Thank you very much. So good morning, evening to everybody joining us. And maybe I should also say afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. I want to say thank you to the organizer. Thank you, Dr. OLADIPUPO CLEMENT. I did want to use another description, which I would always use. So let's keep it professional. Thank you for the opportunity. I think I joined 2 of the sessions. The first one, 2 or 3 of the sessions already, and it's been mind-blowing. I just want to say to everybody on this call, if you know any business owner or you know anybody who's not here already, but aspires to run a business someday, Or even if you don't aspire to run a business, but you know somebody who's an entrepreneur, somebody who's supporting the growth of a business and has responsibility for managing people, it's very important that they join this call. So, and because I'm going to be sharing some nuggets that I've applied during my course of experience and just coming from the word of experience that I've gathered over the years. So please do reach out to people that you know that should be here. And if you're already here, take notes, and not just take notes, go ahead and apply the things that you will hear. So I'm just going to put this on slideshow. And the topic for today is retaining talent for business success. I will try as much as possible to make it interactive, the best as I can. And so if I ask questions, please feel free, put in your chat, put it in the chat box. If you also have questions, put it in the chat box. And then if you think that anything is unclear, what I have decided to do is I will try as much as possible not to use too many HR jargons. I cannot say I won't because obviously I'm going to be saying some things that are HR speak. But I would try to break them down because this is talent management we're talking about. But then we're also saying business success. So just bringing everything together, I would try to make those explanations, but please put in the chat box. I know that Stella can always come back to me, maybe at the back end, letting me know what sort of questions to answer. And just to say thank you also to Stella after taking the organizer. It's been a refreshing experience watching you do what you do. And when you started talking about War for Talent, I was saying to myself, I haven't shared my slide. This girl is a
Stella, can you please step in?
Yes, please. You know how network is, and then because of the weather as well at this part of the world, because I know that we have a global audience here, the weather has been fantastic. We've been having rains, and when you have rains, sometimes it disrupts the internet service here. But not to worry, she'll be joining us very soon. She's super ready. I'm sure you can see that slide. A lot of value.
You see me?
Value. Yes,
I'm back.
We can see you. Welcome back.
Awesome. Yeah, I dropped off momentarily. I just pray it doesn't continue because of the rains, like you said. But hopefully. It shouldn't do that next time. Okay. So my slide is on full screen already, right? Just confirm from your end.
Not yet. We're seeing just your face. I think you'd have to share again.
Okay.
But we're ready.
Let me know when it's on full screen.
We can see it now, but not yet on full screen.
Okay. Okay. Let me know when it's on full screen. I already shared from my end.
Full screen, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, so the topic, retaining talent for business success. What I've decided to do, like I said earlier, is to make it as simple as possible. And so in form of an outline, I'm sharing 3 key things, and you will see that I use simple words for my outline, and that's the what, why, and how. Very simple, so that you can follow as I speak. And so under the what, I'll give you the details of what we'll share under the what. And then when we get to the why are we retaining talent for business success, we'll talk about it. And most critical and most important that we'll be sharing today is the how. Because I can tell you what you should do or what the topic means. I can tell you why you should be retaining talent for business success. But if you leave this, this meeting not knowing some important steps that you should take, then it's almost like it's a waste of your time. But I'm going to put out a disclaimer here to say that when you're managing talent, and as is with every other topic, whatever ideas I'll be sharing with you this today is not all exhaustive. So I'm going to be sharing you some valuable insights that if you practice and just put into your business, you will definitely see some changes and some things that will put you ahead of the competition. However, there's a lot more than I can share within the time that I have. So please, let's just make it as interactive and be attentive as possible. So I'll go straight into the what. As for what, I'm going to be defining what employee retention is. We're going to be looking at what current realities are when you talk about talent management. And then finally, we'll look at what talent challenges are in contemporary times. The reason why I thought to start this way is because when you say retaining employees for business success, you want to know what exactly is retention and why should I even do that? What are the prevailing circumstances in today's world regarding retaining talent? What are prevailing circumstances that are impacting businesses, in terms of managing your talent? And those are the things that we'll look at. Finally, under the what, I want to look at what are the main talent challenges that businesses face in contemporary times. So I start with just a comment here that and the comment really that I have here says, organizations are not only competing with peers for talent. So Stella did mention the word for talent. In contemporary times, organizations are not only competing with other organizations. So before now, maybe many years ago, if you are in the same industry, so if I take, for example, the fast-moving consumer goods, industry. Let me take two key players in the beverage industry, 7-Up and the Coca-Cola company. If in the past, when you say that if Coca-Cola is going to, look out and say, who are my competitors? They're going to be counting companies like 7-Up, most likely number one. If you are in the climb that I'm in, so just giving local examples for those in Nigeria, acknowledging the fact that we have people all around the world. So just using some local examples. And then in recent times, they would also say Biggie. They will talk about some healthy products now because of the preferences that individuals have begun to have in terms of focus on what's important for their health. But before that, it was just organizations. So they would say, oh, who's our competitor? This organization, and that organization. But times have changed. You're not only competing as an organization with another organization, you're also competing with the lifestyle preferences and the ambition of the people that you want to recruit or those you already have in your business. And a number of things have made this change happen. The change in technology, some of the things that Stella talked about people, living in a particular country and working remotely where you can have as much as 6 hours difference or even more for, working with your team members, people that you work with, or just having a separate reporting line, outside country beyond what we've known before now. And some of the things that have caused that, like I said, one, technology, the occurrence of the pandemic that we have experienced about 3-4 years ago brought a significant shift. I would say this, that before the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a lot of research about the world of work, war for talent, became very, very popular maybe about 5-10 years ago. But the advent of the pandemic, everything that was said that will happen in another 30 years, for example, were already happening in 5 years because of the spate of change that we're experiencing. So what that means is that organizations who are not responding accurately, listen, I'm choosing my words carefully. I'm using the word responding and not reacting. Because a number of organizations have reacted, oh, this is happening, we need to let go of staff, or this is happening, I just need to recruit people. And I'm going to be talking about when you're even recruiting people, who should you be looking at recruiting before you can retain? Because you have to, if you first recruit, you have to retain and also develop your people. So beyond what people have experienced so far, can you still hear me? Please confirm.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Stella, awesome. So beyond what people have experienced to date is the fact that other situations have happened and a lot of organizations are moving along with times, but they're not working or are managing their talents optimally. So what we're going to be looking at are styles and things that you can do to manage talent optimally. But I thought it was important to define employee retention. First is the organization's ability to keep its employees under contract. Mind you, I said under contract. So it means that you have people who have signed an agreement to work for you. It's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes across or somebody that does something for you. Somebody you can say is my employee, works for me, is responsible or for my business success, is somebody who reports to a line within the organization. That's your employee. So somebody who's within contract for you. But beyond that, employee retention is also your ability to have a stable and productive workforce. Mind you, remember that we're looking at the business success. So we're talking retaining your employees, but the reason why we're retaining employees to ensure that you have business success. And you can only have a successful business if you have a workforce that is productive. And so I'm going to talk a lot about top talent because it's not everybody that is productive. So if you have a workforce that is productive, but beyond productivity is also stability. So you see that I'm bringing out a lot of things here. So you can have high top talent that are productive but are not stable. So if you have a productive high top talent who you only have for 3 months, in another 3 months, another person leaves, in another 3 months, they go, another person comes, which is what we're seeing in the current local landscape, that already is a negative impact on employee retention within any organization. So you ask me, what should we be doing as an organization? And that's some of the things that we'll be looking at. But before we go there, I want to share with you some contemporary realities. So the facts that I will share here is an outcome of a research that Gartner is one of the leading HR consultancy organizations, and this research they did recently, this was the outcome of their research. I thought to bring it out for us to see. The first point here, 52%, that's above half. So there was a research using a certain number of organizations, and out of the number of organizations, very diverse organizations that were used, 52% of their chief HR officers recently, so this was a recent research, they identified shortage of critical talent. Mind you, please underline the word, I said critical talent. I didn't just say talent. So I'm going to be telling you what critical talent is. And at the end of the day, when we finish, I'm going to be linking your critical talent to your business success. They identified such shortage of critical talent as the #1 trend impacting organizations. #1 trend today. #1 trend. So if you live in the country that I'm in, you will know, in fact, not just in the country that I'm in, everywhere. So listen to the news, watch TV, watch different stations that talk about what's happening in the world of work. You will see the continued concern of organizations that they're losing talent, and they're not just losing talent, they're losing top and critical talent. However, out of these 52%, everybody, not just the 52%, out of everybody that was, that participated in that research, only 19 of them responded that their organization was ready to handle the shortage of critical talent. So that tells you that there's a huge dilemma in the world of work today. The other point I want to say here is 65. So in the same research, employees were now, were also surveyed. The research surveyed leaders in the organization, and the leaders are saying our #1 issue now is that our staff, the critical talent that we want to keep, the critical talent that we need to keep, they're leaving. And only 19 of them, 90%, were able to say, oh, yes, we're ready. Then, in the same vein, employees were surveyed. And listen to what employees are saying. The pandemic has made them rethink the role of work in their lives. So gone are the days. What this means is that gone are the days where you think that, oh, because employees need the job, you can do anything or whatever, anything goes for employees. Gone are those days. Whatever place whether you're in the developed world, whether you're in the developing world, or even beyond the developed. Gone are those days. It might not be the exact reality across board on the same scale, but it's happening on an increasing scale, even in the world that is developing. Evolving employee preferences are significantly influencing talent acquisition and retention outcomes. And like you and I know, COVID happened, the fourth revolution we are in, a lot of things have changed. And employers and organizations are grappling with the realities. Sometimes you think that you have employees that are quiet quitting, and I'm going to be talking about that. So you have employees that are showing up every day, and they're showing up at work physically, but they're not showing up fully. And so sometimes you see people clocking in their full hours, but at the end of the day, the direct impact on organizational success is not felt. And sometimes you might even think that you are making money. Yes, the organization seems not to be losing money, but the organization might be losing value, intrinsic value that is not shown yet, that might show in another 5 years, and by that time might be too late. And the risk about having such employees who are already disengaged or who are quiet quitting is that they do not only impact themselves, they impact other employees, they impact clients, because these are the people that deal with your clients, and the negative energy that goes from them also impacts your clients and the ability or the likelihood of those clients to be repeat customers. The other fact that came from this research is that 49% of candidates, 2021 was just 2 years ago, they accepted a job offer already from you, but they are still considering 2 or more additional offers. So I'm going to ask people on the call, where you work, if you're an employee or an employer, if in the last 1 year, you have at least had colleagues who have left, so maybe 2 or 3 colleagues who have left your organization, just put in the chat box and confirm to me. You can just say yes. If you've had at least 2 or 3 colleagues where you work, either on your team or the organization, and depending on it. So if it's a large size organization, just put it, just look at your team. But if it's not a large size organization, look at the organization, 2 or 3 who have left. I can see a lot of, let me see what the comments are. A lot, people are saying a lot, and that's the reality. And guess what? The people you are recruiting now, guess what? Those that you are recruiting to replace, to backfill, guess what is happening to them? They also have other offers. So somebody said yes, especially going abroad, but even those that are not going abroad. So the spaces that are left by those that have gone abroad, what it means is that those places where those gaps are, those organizations are looking out, and they're going to be enticing the people that are currently with you as an employer or as somebody who's managing talent, whether you're an employee in an organization. So the question now is, what do you do differently? How do you compete in this war for talent? It's a war. It's a war because it's everybody, there's a shortage. So are there people? Yes. Are there graduates? Yes. Are there people who have worked? Yes. But do they have what you need? The critical skills that you need? No. And that's what the war is. And then even when they have, does your organization have what they want? So there's even what they need, which is fundamental. But now the world of work has gone on to embrace even wants of people. So we know what the basic need of shelter, clothing, food, those basic things. The world of work has gone beyond that. And even the wants, people now sit back and say, what's important for me? What can this organization give me that is up and above what this other organization will give me? And I'm going to be talking somewhere later, during this call to tell you that the value that people are looking for goes beyond money. So gone are the days where offer is just about a particular amount, a particular percentage. Employees now, or would-be employees now, Google organizations or check. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, employer brand, and some things that you need to be careful about, especially as a growing business or even as an established business. And so having looked at these research comments, what are the things that are the issues? What are the current challenges in contemporary times around retaining talents? I just listed a few of them here. One is high attrition, which we all just alluded to. People are leaving. The attrition numbers, as the rate of which people leave an organization, is high. And it's not only about people going abroad, because some people are going abroad, but they're still retaining their job in a hybrid pattern. So even the people that you're losing, do you have a structure such that though they're not here physically, they can still continue to work? Or do you even have policies that would enable them? Because if you really want to check some persons that are leaving, some of them are leaving and maybe they're doing their masters or 1 or 2 other things. Do you have a structure that can give them that sort of opportunity and still retain them? We're going to be talking about how you create value for your employees later. And then the other thing is low employee engagement. Some people remain, but they are no longer engaged. In local parlance, 2 key things have happened in recent times. The deregulation and then the fuel subsidy that was reduced. So I'm using local parlance in addition to what's happening globally in terms of the economic landscape. And so employees are looking out for more. And they're wondering, sometimes I sit back, I do some things as an individual, within the strata that I am in the economy, and I wonder how certain people cope, given what the realities are now. And one thing that is critical now is quiet quitting. It's like a plague that has slowly seeped into the work environment. If you survey a workplace today, at the minimum, most workplaces at the minimum, I'm trying not to give percentages, but you have a number of people who sit there, seem to be delivering on the work, but they are quiet quitting. They are already saying, this isn't for me, but I just have to be here because I need to meet certain needs. They're not fully engaged anymore. So some people might not be engaged, but they might not even be quitting. But when somebody is quitting, it means that they are no longer committed to that organization. It means that anything that happens, they're gone. They might not even be gone because they might not have what it takes. So people who are relocating, maybe some of them, depending on where they're going to, their age is a factor. The fact that they either have their masters or speak another language might be a factor. So you might have employees that don't have that, but they're still quiet quitting. They're only here because that's all that they have. They're not there because they are committed to you or they have a purpose for being there. High burnout and low morale. So people have left and you haven't been able to recruit because of the war for talent. And so the remaining employees work back to back hours, weekends they're working, outside of work hours they're working, not because you demand of them, just because the reality of the work on ground, what it demands. And so that leads to high burnout and the morale is low. Finally, all this contributes to low productivity, which is what we're talking about, because you cannot have business success when productivity is low. So I thought that's the what, those things just, summarizes the what, and just giving a background to the importance of the topic, retaining talent for business success. I'm going to ask that as I speak, if there's anything not clear, like I said before, please feel free to drop. I will intermittently check check the comments. Okay, I see somebody send me, a message. Thanks for that. I'll try to do that. Okay, so let me just go ahead and go into the why. So why retain talent? The question is, why should you focus on retaining talent? Two things I have here is one, the new world of work and the war for talent, which I sort of touched on a bit. And then we're going to also be looking at the impact of talent on business success. Why? Why should you retain talent? Why should you focus on retaining talent? I start with this, like I would always like to. I start with a comment here. This is being accredited to Peter Drucker, and I'm sure everybody on this call, if not, well, almost everybody, if not all of you, would have read or seen this somewhere before. And it says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So what it means is that in the world of work today, and as an employer or an entrepreneur or somebody who has responsibility for managing talent in an organization, no matter what your strategy is to achieve business success, the culture within your organization will always determine your success. And you don't talk culture without talent. You don't talk culture without people, because it's the people. When you say culture of an organization, it's not about the systems. It's not about the infrastructure. It's not about the desk, it's not about the IT infrastructure or the computers. It's about the people. And so depending on the culture that you have, it's a critical factor for the retention of talent. And more so in these times where the war for talent is fierce. The talent, when you are a bride, let me give an everyday example. If a young lady being wooed by two young men, you're not just going to be saying yes to anybody. There's going to be some criteria that you have that you just tick off and say, okay, this person. And if you're from the client that I am, you want to do more research. You want to go online, check the website of this person. Check what people say about this person. Check the persons who have dated these individuals before. Why did they leave that relationship? Check the relationship that this person has with other people that might not necessarily be in the friendship, maybe just friends or sort of or relatives. What sort of relationship? What are they saying about this individual? The interactions you have with this person before it came to, oh, can I date you? Or can we have a relationship beyond just being friends? Can we leave the friend zone to another zone? What were your experiences in those connections? Those touch points that you had with that person. So as a young lady, you're going to be looking at those things and you're going to be using that as a criteria, to begin to decide, who do I go for? The same way employees are looking at and they're watching. If they don't have any touch points with an organization, they're looking at people who have touch points. And even if they don't know, the internet is abuzz with so many information out there. You'll be shocked. Google any organization, something comes up. In fact, if something doesn't come up, that puts you on inquiry. So recently, somebody has been sending me emails, disturbing emails about an award. I knew it was this, all these scam emails. Oh, we want to recognize you. I just went online and Googled the organization, and I didn't see anything. So already that puts me on inquiry. Something about you is being said. And everything that is being said, there's an element of the culture of the organization there. So it will always determine your success. But before I even go deep into how culture determines success, let's go back to the war for talent. It's a reality and not a myth, like you see on my screen. It's a reality. So the fact that, like I said, even if you have people around you, people are looking for jobs, we have unemployment is so high, the universities are churning out graduates in their droves every year, there's still a war. Because the two things I said, critical talents, meeting your critical roles are not there. And even when your critical talents are there, the things that are critical to the talent, do you as an organization have them? And so I say that there's a fierce competition among organizations. What's the fierce competition about? Everybody wants to attract. I talked about the two young men who are trying to woo a lady. They put in everything in place to attract the lady. And beyond attracting, when you attract and you recruit, you want to retain. Think back about that research that I told you about, that Gartner did, and said that 49% of employees who accepted an offer in just less than 2 years ago, they were still, after accepting your offer and sitting in your office. And to every entrepreneur here, let me tell you this, and it's reflective of what you have in other organizations. They're looking at, even if they're not actively looking at, they are ready for somebody to come and have a conversation. Gone are the days where you say, oh, can I have a conversation with you? And just say, oh, no, I'm not interested. Because employees are constantly saying, what else? What's more? What else can be there? And that's the question, what's in it for me? It now goes beyond the organization to also what's external. And so the competition to retain is fierce. But beyond retaining, also to develop. Because many organizations are also in that space where they are thinking, why should I develop people that are going to leave me, like you say? But beyond all that, the most skilled and the capable employees. So I want to ask employers here, and this is not something for you to put down. On a scale of 1 to 10, not something to put down just in case you have some of your employees on the call with you. Just thinking about it as an employer or as a team lead or as somebody who is a manager or an organizational leader. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you 1 to 10, what skill or what rate will you put the employees who are really capable in your organization? And when I say capable for the work that they're doing. Again, when I say capable for the work they're doing, I mean not just meeting today's need, meeting the needs of the foreseeable future. Where you say the strategy of your organization is going to, do you have the right caliber of talent to take your organization there? Just something for you to reflect on. And then if you do have, say for example, you said 5 out of 10, those 5 people, there are people that your competitors are also looking at. The other thing that I have here is the war for talent is about acknowledging the challenges that is out there. When it comes to acquiring top talent, again, I use the word top talent, not just talent. One, navigating these challenges with a fresh mindset. So these challenges that are there, but what kind of mindset do you bring to work? What kind of mindset as an employer do you bring in relating with your employees? What kind of mindset do you bring as an entrepreneur who is trying to help build a business, or is somebody who has there's responsibility for talents? What kind of mindset are you bringing? How do you see the people that are working with you? How do you respond to their challenges? How do you respond to their needs? How do you even anticipate what their challenges and needs are without waiting for them to come to you? So it's not alone to know what it is. The next step is to acknowledge, and then a further step is to even take key steps to address these challenges. And then the last thing I have here, which I already said earlier, is that the advancement of technology, impact of COVID-19, as well as the shifting priorities. Please note that the shifting priorities, of humans and of people working in the environment and the work environment today have been enabled by the changing economic landscape. All these have contributed to making the war for talent even more fierce. I'm going to quickly, because of time, just go into what I call some of the benefits why retaining talent is important to your business success. So having looked at the fact that there's war for talent, having looked at the fact that employees are asking for more than the regular compensation, which I'm going to be delving into when I talk about the what, because this is really just the why. And some highlights to just look at. One, you have improved employee culture. Listen, I talked about culture eating strategy for breakfast. So whatever strategy you have, your culture is important. So why should you retain talent? And I'm going to pause in the improved employee culture, company culture here. Say HR practitioner, some of the issues we have had. So let me give you this example. I worked in an environment in the past where we realized, listen, and these are hard facts. These are not made up stories, hard facts, personal experiences. One time we had an employee survey that we had, and we realized that certain teams had a drop in their employee engagement numbers. See what we noticed. The teams that had the drop, the most significant drops in their employee engagement numbers. Employee engagement tells you how engaged and how committed your employees are to the organization. This is an anonymous survey. This is a survey that is managed by an external client. No leader knows who is saying what. In fact, if you have a team of less than 4 to 6 individuals, there's no result for that team. So that no team leader will say, oh, I'm sure it's this person that marked me wrong. If you're less than 6, there will be no result for that team. That is how it works. So that you don't, and then also depending. So if you're less than, if the females are also less than 6, there will be no breakdown into what the females are saying, the males are saying, just to keep the sanctity of that result. So this is what we realized, because I managed that process, just managing the results. We realized that the teams that had a change in leadership within that year, their numbers dropped. The teams that had more changes in employees within the last 2-3 years, their numbers also dropped. And so what it means is when talents are not retained, it impacts the culture of the organization, because the survey also tests things around culture. Again, another real life example, which is also hard facts. In managing and in an organization where I worked, I'm trying not to put the role, because I know some persons, we go to LinkedIn and check my role. So I won't put the role here. But I sat in an evaluation meeting and just reflecting on some comments that were going on. And we realized that when we had supervisors or team members that other team members complained the most about were in teams where the change in the team structures have happened the most. So while I'm not saying it's not good to bring in people from outside, sometimes it's good because you want to get outside in experience. You want people, with a fresh mindset to come in. So it's always good to bring in some people sometimes. But where that change happens, occurs a lot. There's a dilution of the company culture. And then you have people complaining, oh, this is not how we do things here. Or this person is doesn't have a DNA, or doesn't know what the organization stands for. Better customer experience. When you retain your talent, customers are used to people who serve them well. But when your customers relate with you every time is another person, it sends a wrong signal to your customers. It sends a wrong signal to your clients, and they are thinking, what is it that you're not doing well? Increased revenue. When your talents are retained, they know what to do, they know how to do it. You spend less on retraining people, you spend less on recruiting people, because you have the strong hands who have been with you, who understand the business, who've gone through the process with you, know the purpose of the business. I'm going to be talking about purpose. I hope I have the time to talk about purpose later. And so your revenue increases, because all hands are on deck and the things that should be done are being done and in the right way. I talked about enhanced employee engagement and satisfaction, which I've talked about before, because when your people stay, there's a reason why they're staying. There's something you're doing right. And then positive company reputation that I talked about when I talked about a guy trying to woo a lady. People are saying things. When people leave an organization, people are saying things. There's this guy, I can't remember his name. There are a lot of there are a lot of people writing a lot. There are a lot of secret investigations going on, just undercover investigations going on. You'll be shocked that some person is recruited into your organization and is undercover, no matter the size of the organization. Even SMEs are no longer spared. You're talking with your employees, people are recording conversations. Again, I'm talking culture. We have seen in time past where emails that are sent to employees become the topic, just something in social media. Every time everybody gets a hold of it. And then those emails are the emails that the tone is just demeaning on the employees. And you're saying, what sort of culture is this? But when you retain your talent, there's something you're doing right. And so what it means is that it improves the positive. So the reputation of your company goes up. And people are saying, what is it that you're doing right? People are asking, how long are people staying? So if you're an employer here, I want you to go back, speak to your HR team. If that hasn't been done, just look at your structure, your attrition numbers, and just look at your employees year to date, maybe the last 5 years. How many people have you recruited? How many have gone? And look at why they have left. So if you're on this call as an employer or as a supervisor or as somebody who manages talent and you do not have what you call exit interviews, no matter the way the people live, whether they're happy, whether they're not, whether they're going to have an exit interview, ask them questions like, why are you leaving? What could you, even when they're leaving on a good note, what do you think we could have done differently? So, what else? What advice will you give us? Where are you going to? Those who want to declare, they will. And if they don't declare, over time, you can check. Where are they now? You see it on LinkedIn. And then you can look up that organization. What can that organization be offering that we haven't offered? And begin to work on those things. I say here, the last thing I say under the why is culture is the secret sauce that keeps employees motivated and clients happy. In the next place, when I talk about the what, I'm going to give you 4 buckets of things that impact culture. I'm trying to see what okay. Yes, so I'm looking at the comments so that I can, if there's anything that I need to respond to. So quickly, retaining talent. How do you do that? First, I have here stand out as an organization. And then I also have create value for talent. So I'll talk about how you stand out as an organization. And I'll also talk about how you create value. How you create value. What's value? We'll define what value is for contemporary talent. And then finally, we'll look at critical employee retention strategies, which will be like our, just to close out the session. And so let's look at the how, how do you do this? I start again with a comment here. Making bold systemic changes to create differentiated value. I'll take that again. Making bold systemic changes to create differentiated value gets organizational attention from the talent market. We talked about the war for talent. We said it is fierce because there's a market and there are different buyers there looking for the same talent that you were looking for. So beyond giving the organization attention when you make those bold changes, and we'll be talking about those changes very soon, it also builds trust in the organization. Your current employees know that you take talent matters serious, and they're also willing to make sacrifices for you. Somebody was saying, so in my organization, we had a program just last week that I had to go for. And in the conversations with one of our managing directors, somebody was explaining what the culture is in Nigeria, where I currently work from. And the person was saying, when we know that you are committed to us, when we know that you are committed to our welfare, we are loyal for you, we are loyal to you, and we can do anything for you. That's the spirit of many employees. People want to know that you take talent seriously. And I'm going to be showing you some buckets that will show your talent, both existing and prospective, that, yes, you take them seriously, which will now impact your retention, and like I said before, which would also impact business success. So these are the 4 buckets that I say. One of, and again, this is by is a research that was done by McKinsey and Company, and all under the war for talent, that topic, and it's just a research. 4 buckets here. It says one of the 4 elements most valued by top talents should be a source of distinctiveness for your organization. So if you want to be distinct, if you want to be known as an organization who is keen on talent matters, who takes talent matters important, there are 4 buckets, and this research, so in terms of the percentage or the rating that employees give this different buckets, these are the top 4. 1, great leaders. And if you look at the top 4, we have great leaders, we have great company, we have great job, before you have great rewards. So like I said, gone are the days where what keeps your employees is just the compensation. Yes, that's part of it, but look at the figures. 89% of employees says the leader is what will make me as a top talent stay with you as an organization. So as an employer, are you inspirational? Are you supportive? Are you empowering? Are you focused on the development of your people? You can't fake it. So do your employees look up to you? Do they see you as somebody they can aspire to be like? How do you lead them? What do you represent to them? Are you a team lead and you're not improving yourself, you're not developing every day? Or can your employees look at you and say, in another 10 years, this is who I want to be like? This is the leader. My leader is walking the talk. If you expect your employees to give 100%, are you giving 110%? What sort of leader are you? Are you inspirational? Do people see you as a leader they want? How do you speak to your employees? How do you engage them? What sort of lifestyle do you have outside the office? Is it something that your team members or your employees can connect with? These are things that employees look at and say, I want to work for this person. I want to be here because I see in this person something that I can get. The other thing is a great company, another of which I've already spoken about. 81% of the employees that were surveyed, and I'm not just saying employees, top talent, which you'll be focusing on. I'm going to be talking about how you place your critical talent in your critical positions. Great company, reputation, your values, your culture, which I already spoke to, your business results, the contributions that you're making to society. Outside of work, when I did my MBA, there was a course on business ethics and something about making impact in the society. It talked about a lecturer then always emphasized doing good before doing well. Can your employees beat their chest when you're not there and say that my company is a good company, it's a great company? What we do, we are cognizant of the impact of our actions on the society. We are making impact, we are helping the less privileged, or we are just going out the way we treat our clients. Behind their backs, we are not trying to cut corners and depriving our customers. These are integrity issues that your employees might not be able to pin down and say 1, 2, 3 are the reasons why I'm not staying, but they rub off over time on employees. Can the people that you want to retain or you want to attract say that the reputation of the company is top notch? What are your policies? What are the values? Do you lead by them? Do you respect people? Can people be free to be themselves in the organization? And then is there a great job? 81% of people say great job. And what does it mean for the job to be great? It's interesting. There's something new coming up. I've been on this job for a while. I might not be getting a promotion, but can I have an opportunity to learn something else? Can I have my job enriched? Can I just work with another department on a project? Can I just have this broad experience? Can there be opportunities for growth? I've been here for 10 years, not just here for 10 years, but I'm doing my bit. I am growing. Have I been trained? Have I been exposed? Do I know how the business makes money? Yes, there might be some trade secrets that should be at certain levels, but somebody in the organization should know much more than that job they're doing. Are you stretching people in the opportunities that they're giving? Is there a structure for advancement? People come in, they've worked 2-3 years. What's the next level for them? What's the additional benefits? What impact? What meaning? Can people look back and say that I've been in this organization for 5 years and this is how my life has transformed? This is the meaning that the organization gave to me. Can they look back and count, oh, these are the training programs I've attended because of the opportunity? And mind you, some of them are even free. Have you looked at for free trainings, free opportunities? Have you told your people, you know, this next 2 days, we're bringing in people to take us through this process, or this, or just, let's just do a research, let's do a deep dive into our process, and you are leading this, you are going to do this research, come do this, and it's not only top bottom. Have you had a fishbowl session where you're putting your employees in front and say, talk to us, we're just going to listen? What do you think we should do differently? Are your employees engaged? Do they have opportunity to think and not just act? Do they have opportunity to begin to think, what can the business do differently? Because a lot of times we are saying top talent, they're the people that bring opportunities. But do you as a business owner, are you as a supervisor, are you giving those opportunities? Are you challenging people and giving them projects? You handle this and come back. Can your employees say, I've been stretched in the last 1 year because of the opportunities I got on my job? Are you even following the 70-20-10, you know, learning platform or learning structure that they can follow? 70% learning on the job, 20% they're learning from others, and just, you know, just learning, having enrichment. 10% they're also doing something in a sitting environment where they're just learning from a facilitator-led program. What sort of structure? And when I say 70-20-10, I don't mean it must be into that box, but do you have that richness that somebody can say, in this role, this is what I got out of it? And then finally, which is 76%, which is also high, but interestingly, not even as high as the others. Again, shifting priorities. Like I said earlier, shifting priorities. It might not look like it, but it is. And we're going to be talking about a bit of, I hope we do have time. It might not look like it, but really it is. Wages, benefits, perks, non-financial forms of recognition. When people do something well, do you show off? Do you show them? Are there recognitions? Are there awards? You know, are there plaques given? Are people recognized for being in the organization for 5-10 years? You know, are there things people are looking forward to? Oh, I'm 8 years. There's something that will happen to me. I'm going to talk about locked-in compensation. One of the strategies you can use to retain your talent. So are there things people are looking up when I'm clocking 15 years in this organization? Because mind you, it's not everybody that is looking for 10% more. Some persons will say, if I'm able to wait to 15 years, depending on where they are in their lifespan, it might be a woman who's married to a man whose job is here, or who just needs more time, or somebody who just wants to grow and sees you as an inspirational leader that the person can learn from, or somebody who knows that he or she is going to start a business someday and wants to learn all the rudimentary things, but also knows that the way they support your business is the way they would also be blessed with people to support their business. So they're willing to give you their all. They're also willing to give you their all. So if you look at these 4 buckets, I want you as a leader, as a business leader, just sitting where you are, or as an employee who can go back to that organization, I'm going to reflect. Somebody you don't have to have responsibility for it. And so let me say this to employees on the call. If you're an employee on this call, look at the definitions on the screen. Go back to your organization, plot the map of the organization, and ask yourself, where are we? Where are we as an organization? And what strategies can we do? Bring that to the table. Find a way to bring these conversations. That already skyrockets your perception and how you're seen by whoever it is that you report to. And that already places you in a top spot. So I'm going to go from there to now say this. So having said all that, how do you create value for your talent? I did say earlier, and the question now is, what does value mean? Because if I want to stay, there's something of value that is keeping me as an employee. If your people will stay, that means there's something that is valuable that is keeping them. So the question now is, what does value mean for your top talent? Listen, I'm going to now emphasize it. When I say top talent, not everybody is top talent. So there are people that you might even be looking at and saying, how do I manage these people out of the workforce? That is not the topic for today. That exists, and I've seen it. I've had to manage it as a HR manager. I've had to do that, as a people manager. But for your top talent, people who are delivering, people who have what it takes to take your business to the next level, people who have what it takes to keep your business a going concern, you want to know what does value mean to them. Listen, let's look at those 4 days. Is it just great leaders, great company, great jobs, great reward? Beyond these things, as individuals, what does value mean for them? I say here that value does not necessarily mean money. You can boost value by giving more money, you can give more time, and you can give more opportunities. Let's break down what creating this value means to retain employees. And I have 4 buckets that I've put here. The first, on the top left-hand side, I have tailored compensation. I'll see how much I can delve into this just to give you some explanations. So I say here, under tailored compensation, pay employees with more time, hybrid and flexible option. So I am not saying they don't want more money. Yes, more money is part of it. So look at your industry. One of the ways you can do that is look at your industry. Look at the industry that you work in and ask, what sort of job? And there are a lot of people who can have, who run these compensation benchmark surveys. And I do have some of my friends that are into that, they do compensation benchmarks. Whatever industry you are, and then depending on what strata your company is within the industry, you can get a compensation benchmark. And, it also depends on you, where you want to play. Do I want to play in the top 100 quartile? Do I want to play in the top 75 quartile? Depending on where. Do I want to play in the 50th quartile? You know what that means. It means that you might be getting the bottom, of the pot in terms of talent, because the talent that you have know what other people are earning, what other people are getting. And so when we're saying beyond that money, more time, have you considered as an organization? Because people do it. Some organizations now do 4-day work, and I'm not saying you have to. Do you understand? Find a way. If we work 4 days out of 5 days in the office, maybe not even flex, I'm not talking even hybrid now, 4 days work week, so that Monday to Thursday we deliver the work and everything is done. Friday is part of weekend. Is that a possibility? If it isn't a possibility, is hybrid work a possibility? Where people can work some days in the office, some days out of the office. And there are a lot of organizations who have done that. And it doesn't have to be too many. Sometimes it cannot just be one. Sometimes it can just be a structure. Because when I say what value means for people, value for a number of individuals is now more time for family, more time for me to reflect, more time for me to go on to do one course or the other, more time for me to just rest and take care of my health. Just more time, less time in traffic. Flexible option also, meaning I can decide, even if the organization is not doing a 4-day week, I can decide I'm doing 2 weeks in the office, 2 weeks out, or I decide to do 4 days and get paid for 4 days. And I know that my 4 days is 4 days, not that you now give me 5 days work in 4 days. Is it possible? Are there roles that is possible? Are there desk jobs that I can do from anywhere? Can you enable me with data? I'm not saying go leave this call and put your employers under pressure for some of these things I'm saying, because there are things I might not say that some employers are already doing. Because you could have some inspirational leaders who might not be giving you data, but you've learned so much from them, and you know that if not for the impact of this person, you don't know where you would have been. Some organizations will give you everything in terms of compensation, but then it feels like you are worthless. So let's try to strike a balance here. And then where feasible, implement lock-in incentives. For the purpose of employers on the call, let me explain what I mean by lock-in incentives. Lock-in incentives are incentives that people look forward to. So you will say that by the time I'm 5 years, this is something I look forward to. There's something, so for example, you can say every 5 years, you're entitled to a car grant. And when you say a car grant, when you get the car grant, if it's a grant, that means that there's a payment that happens. So if I'm going to be leaving as an employee, I know that I get the grant, it's something I'm looking for, I get a status car. But when I'm leaving, I know that it's a grant. So it's being deducted over the next 5 years. So I have that at the back of my mind that is there. And that's an example of a locked-in incentive. There's something I can say, okay, by the time you are 10 years, this is the value that you get. Those who have stayed 10 years, they get an accommodation. I was speaking to the cooperative of my organization. I was talking about some things. I had somebody to link them to, and he was saying, oh, we have this property in this place, and our staff, not the company staff, the staff of the cooperative runs like an organization. They live there. And I was like, how did you do that? You gave all employees? He said, no, those who have been with us for 15 years got free accommodation with them. So it's not an automatic, you join us and you get the accommodation. They were there for 15 years. And so your reality as an organization might be different. I'm not saying you have to do 15 years, but that's part of the locked in. I'm 13 years and somebody is offering me 5 million more. I can look at it and say, in 2 years, the accommodation I'm going to get is way worth more than 5 million, except there are other things that I'm considering. That's an example of a long-term incentive. So you want to look at it. What can I do to retain talent? But I'm not saying, when I say locked in, not locked in a way that is detrimental to the well-being of your employees. So these examples I've given, they're positive things that your employees need. And so it's a win-win on both ends. On the top left-hand side, top right-hand side, you see I put there re-engineer talent management. The top point I have there is bring talent based on potential, not just credentials. As a recruiter, sometimes you want to look at your spread, your talent dashboard, and you want to say, yes, I need people who have these talents, or these skills or credentials. However, what's the likelihood of me retaining all of them? So rather than bring 5 with this level of skill, why not bring 3 and bring 2 who can learn? So because they don't have everything it takes, they have the potential, they can now stay with me a longer time. That's retention, is a strategy. And that's also giving them value, because they know that it's not because they have everything that you needed, but this is an environment for them to learn. This is an environment for them to grow. And on your end as an employer, it's a succession planning strategy. I was speaking to a friend of mine who wanted to recruit recently, and I said, go, by all means, get the best, but please do know that you need to mix your talents resourcing. Given the size of your organization, you need to get in there people who do not necessarily have all the skills, but people who will be loyal to you because you will help them grow, and they have an environment to grow. And in those years that they are growing, they're also helping you meet your business needs. Because your top talent, the work for them is fiercer than the work for this ones with the lower ones. So I'm not saying you would have all top talents. Sometimes your top talents might be people with potential. So it takes an employer or a human resource department that is well planned to identify the roles that you can recruit potential into, so that they begin to understudy the top talent, which the war for talent is fierce. And then evaluate your attrition risk. Who wants to leave and why? One of the ways you can do that is the survey that I talked about, the independent anonymous survey. Find a way to run a survey. There are a lot of HR organizations online. You can also reach out to me. I can give you some directions on how to do that. Have those attrition risks, evaluate them. The fact that you're going to the office, there's one birthday celebration, people are calling you, yes, they're attending everybody's birthday, does not mean you'll be shocked that the same person who called you, who spent the weekend with you yesterday in your house, came around, did everything, on Monday morning is giving you a resignation letter. So do these surveys, find a way to find out what are your attrition risks, who wants to leave, and then anonymous survey, why do they want to leave? Have those sessions. I talked about a fishbowl session where you can ask questions. If you were to leave this organization, why would you leave? If you were to leave, and those who've left, ask them, why did they leave? Check, where did they go to? What's the difference? And so when you evaluate your risk, you are now able to say, okay, what can we do differently? The other thing, top-notch employee experience. Revamp your employee experience touch points. How you connect with your employees. What are the benefits? Are they what the people need? What are our cultural aspects? When our people go for meetings, how are they treated? When people request for their leave, are they free to go? These are things that they are things that seem mundane, but they're important. Somebody was speaking to me just yesterday, and she works with a top organization, A friend of mine, she called me, it was break time yesterday, and she said, oh, it was a bit on my mind. I thought to reach out to you just yesterday. Again, add facts. And she was talking about how that to go on leave is a hellish procedure. You have to keep defending, explaining. These are things that matter to people. People have lives outside of work. So even if they don't see it, people around them are seeing it, and they're speaking to them, we will get to a point where people leave. Let me tell you this, somebody reached out to me. So an organization where I've been invited to speak in one of their sessions, I gave a keynote speech, I think about 2 years ago. Last year, somebody reached out to me, one of the leaders reached out to me and said they had a case of an employee who had suicidal tendencies. So these things are real. Apparently, I've been discussing, and I'm not saying the employer had any role to play, but you don't know what the burden people are carrying. So people come to work every day, and you think that everybody is normal. So you don't want your work environment to contribute to the issues or the concerns that people are facing. I've seen situations where people drop down. Somebody was working late, and the next day, in fact, it wasn't the next day, it was the security that was patrolling the organization that saw that the guy had collapsed. He was working late, he was alone. What sort of culture do we have? Do you know what our employee touch points? How do we work on them? And then I have here design and act on diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments. So somebody defined equity as meeting everybody where they are. So what sort of compensation strategies do you have? I talked about locked-in compensation or incentives, but this type that you have, does it matter to everybody? If you tell me that you're going to give me a house, and I know that house, as a millennial, does that matter to me? Is that important to me? Maybe to some persons of some other generation. Do you understand? So I'm saying diversity, what is important to the different generations. Like never before, we have a higher number of generations in the workplace. At the minimum, every employer will have at least 3 generations. Some have up to 5 generations in the workplace today. So you want to ask, what matters to Gen Z? What is value to the millennials? What is value to other generations? What is value to this gender? And depending on the climate that you're in, I'm going to say this here, knowing that this is a global audience, depending on the climate that you're in, diversity is now a very broad topic. So you want to choose the space that you play in, and you want to put it out there, how accommodating you are to diversity, and show how it is. Inclusion, your commitment. So I say you don't just design, you act on it. I had a situation one time when I heard of a female who wasn't promoted because the manager said they couldn't promote her because they knew that as a manager, there were some travels she would need to do. She has 4 children, she wouldn't be able to travel. And I was asking, let that be a decision to make. Is this person good enough? Yes. Then let it be a decision to make. These are things, and you'll be shocked that even the male counterparts are observing these things. And when they want to leave, they might even cite the way the females are treated as reasons why they're leaving. Let me quickly go to revamped EVP. And I'm going to say this, when you say employee value proposition, a number of times, let me check the messages so that I'm sure. Okay, I just want to be sure that I have the right, I'm right on time in terms. So Stella, please, you can reach out to me with the time details. So I talked about revamped EVP. What is EVP? Let me define that. EVP is employee value proposition. And that is why people choose to work for you. Everything I have put here is part of it. But when I say revamped, I was speaking recently, we in my organization, we're refreshing our EVP. And one of the things I was saying to some of my leaders, I was saying to them, because it's a project I'm sort of leading, and I was saying to them things about connecting work to purpose. Beyond connecting people to your strategy, which we talked about when we compared with culture, are people connected to the purpose of your organization? The reason why your organization exists, beyond making money. So one of the organizations that I currently support, sitting on the board, they talk about making lives richer. Then you want to say, do your employees connect to that? Do they see the value that, yes, this is what my organization is doing? We want to make lives richer. We want in the next how many years, create 1 million homes. And this is the impact it is having on the society. That's connecting work to purpose. People want to feel a sense of fulfillment beyond their paycheck. They might not be able to identify it as something concrete, but it is intrinsic. That's why you see people who seem to have everything going for them. The next thing you hear, somebody threw himself or herself into this river or into the lagoon, and you're wondering, what else was this person looking for? And I'm not saying the person didn't have purpose. I'm just saying, could that have helped? Are your employees connected to the reason, the impact you are making in the society? Again, they can't be connected if you don't have great leaders. We talked about inspirational leaders. You don't have a great company that is looking at how the impact on the society. I'm just trying to bring everything together. Connect work to purpose. People should wake up in the morning, your employees who you want to retain, this is value. And look and say, yes, this is why I'm going to work. Beyond my pay. My pay is part of it. I'm going to be talking a bit even on that in my last slide. But beyond that, can I say I'm committed? This is why. I'm not saying this is what Shell or SPDC is doing. No. This is what I'm doing. This is my role. As a HR professional, this is how I'm contributing to making lives richer. And then I said, adapt culture to achieve organizational outcomes. So what are your goals? Are your culture feeding it? Is your culture feeding it? The elements of your culture, are they feeding it? What are your values? Respect, integrity, honesty, which is mine. Are leaders living it in our meetings, in our touch points? Is it a complete picture for everybody? Because people want to be able to say, this is what the organization is, or this is what the organization stands for, and this is what the organization is. If you bring them together, there should be no difference. What we stand for and what we are. Adapting culture. So what we are helps us to achieve what we stand for, which ultimately leads to business success. I'm going to quickly go to my critical activities for retaining top talent. I put this, there's something I put here, but let me just quickly drop these things. One, prioritize a strong EVP and employer brand. I spoke a lot about employee value proposition, why employees will want to work for you. And when I say employer brand is how people perceive you as an employer. For those of you who joined the session, I don't know if it's on the session on sales and marketing, the one I joined that one when the speaker, in the Winning Business series, the speaker was talking about going to the website of an organization and checking somewhere at the bottom. Those of you who are good students, you remember that comment, and then seeing the year, how recent that website has been updated. What it means is that people are checking you out. So your employer brand, what are your existing employees saying? Go on to, depending on the size of your organization, join there's so many surveys. Universum is there. There's so many surveys that can check how are you doing. There's Glassdoor. There's some you can pay for, some are not even solicited. Go check online as an organization. What is our employer? What's our brand as an employer? There's nobody that is going to reach out to me and say, come work for me or come consult for me, that I'm not going to first check the employer brand. Is this somebody I want to be associated with? The other thing I have is make succession planning and career growth top priority. Top priority. I already spoke a lot about that. Succession planning and career growth. Focus on employee engagement and experience. So the experience people have in your organization, focus on it. People should be able, even if they want to leave, they should be your brand ambassadors. So we talk about, people are going abroad, we cannot stop them. But what are they saying about you? Yes, they had to leave. They were looking for greener pastures, which has gone beyond the organization. But are they your ambassadors? At the company I was talking about that I sit on their board, somebody had to leave to go to school, and for months she was still supporting. If she wasn't treated right, I don't think she would have supported to that extent. If she didn't feel this organization is an organization I want to be associated with, she wouldn't have done that. There's so many people that don't even give rest. They don't care. Some people have resigned and they drop their laptop at the reception without a resignation letter because of bad culture or not being treated right. Your employee engagement, employee experience should be top notch. People people should look back and say, I got this from this organization. There should be a way to connect with them. And then I said, build and sustain DEI initiative. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which I've spoken about. So what do different people need? Not equality now, oh, everybody gets the same thing. You know, what's important? If you cannot do it per person, look for it. Okay, after this level, you get this. After this level, you get this. You know, sometimes even just bringing them into certain meetings, you'll be surprised how that is. So we have in my organization, we have what we call the extended leadership team. So there's the leadership team, there's the extended leadership team for people reporting, so 1 and 2 levels below. So they go into strategy sessions. Imagine going to a session like that with your MD, with your country vice president, and you come out knowing that you contributed to the strategy of the organization. Something in you makes you committed to it. Something in you makes you feel, I have a part of the purpose of this organization. And then I said, design and implement an attractive and sustainable compensation strategy. You look at the word sustainable. So the fact that you want to compete doesn't mean you should not put in a compensation plan that your business cannot sustain. So compensation and benefits sometimes goes beyond money. If you cannot pay more, so much more. So for example, now, if you live in an environment where, like many of us on the call might be, where something that happened recently, the deregulation, and like I mentioned earlier, the fuel subsidy issue, you know, the removal, and then you want to say, oh, maybe I can't do more in terms of cash, but can people work from home one more day? Or can we, you know, can we be flexible about our resumption time so that people spend less time? So rather than say everybody do 8 to 5, can we do 7 to 4, 8 to 5, 6:30 to 3:30, depending on what works for you? These are ideas that you can implement that is sustainable. And then in compensation, if it's something you can't do immediately, can you do it as a reward for time spent? And then sometimes additional compensation is not only measured by the initial value of the money, you measure it by the outcome on the business success that you might not have immediately, but you will have over time. So it's just like a business that starts. You keep on building and building until you break even. So sometimes until the break-even point, you might not be getting the return on the investment. The same thing with compensation sometimes. So that sometimes it looks like, oh, we are paying a bit more than before, and we're not seeing it. It builds over time. The commitment is building, the loyalty is building, the assurances that your employees have in you is building. And then over time, it builds to how they talk to your clients about you. Because if you do not know, every employee is talking to your clients about you. And I don't mean gossip. The way they show up at work, they're talking. The way when you say everything you do, you're selling. You know, we talk to people who say, the way you show up, the way you dress, you're selling. It's the same way with your employees. The way they show up at work, when they go to meet your clients, everything they do, they are talking. They are representing. And so when you have a contented employee who feels happy, that person is speaking a language that the client is speaking. The clients are picking cues. They're picking the hues from the things that are happening. And they are thinking, should I stay? Should I come back? Is this the kind of business I want to work with? And then finally, I said this, and it's critical. You will see the map I put at the side, which I'm going to show you here. I said, place top talents in critical roles. So you ask me, what are your critical roles? Go back as an employer after this call. And as a talent lead or as a supervisor, go into your strategy session and look at your business. Look at every role and do a map. And let me tell you, not all leadership roles are critical. Do a map of your roles and say, without which of this role will the business not function? Are there roles? What are our top 20% of roles? Again, this is not your Pareto principle. The Pareto principle that says 20% of people do 80% of the work. No. Before you get to the Pareto principle, now this is what I'm saying. First, identify what are your critical roles. And your critical roles are those roles that your business cannot function without, or if they're not in existence, will have a negative impact on the sustainability of your business. And it will differ depending on your industry. It may also differ slightly depending on the growth stage of your business. When you do that map, you now want to look at who are your top talents. Place them in those critical roles. It might not be immediate. It might be something you now need to plan over time, over months, so that as you do that, you are getting the best. That is when you can now say your top 20% delivering your 80%. Because now you're looking at your top talent in your critical role. I hope what I'm saying is clear. Many organizations don't do that. So you sit back. Who are my top talents? What are they doing? You can have a top talent who's delivering, marketing, bringing a lot or doing something. And you realize that the part of the business that if anything crumbles there, something is going to go wrong for every other business. The people you have, they are not your top talents. Then you need to make a change. And then as you make the change, don't forget what I talked about succession planning, because that also comes with a risk. When you have your top talents there, while they will help you to grow your business, as you retain them, know that the war for them is high. So as much as you compensate them, you give some benefits for hard work, there are some awards, additional awards, like I talked about, for people who deliver up and above more than is expected. You do all the structure, you pay for, you compensate for performance, you do all that, you have that structure. But beyond that, know that circumstances of individuals can change. So have a succession plan. In those roles, have a succession plan. If you do not have a succession plan for every role, have it for your critical roles. And how do you do that? Again, we're talking retention. Look at every role. How many people do I have, depending on your size of organization? Who do I have that is ready to step into this role if anything happens? And I don't mean that the person has to be 100% understanding that person. That person who is ready to step into the role might even be working in another team or a closely related team, but you're intentional to begin to expose them to that part of the business where they need to learn. And then you're also looking at them. So the other part of that succession planning, after identifying, you're also identifying the gaps. What do these people need to be able to fill this role? Remember, we're talking about retaining your talent for business success. There's one end of retention, the other end is business success. So that gap, what do these people need to fill the role? How do I begin to expose them within the next year, within the next 2 years, within the next 3 years? Again, I'm trying to link it up back. Remember, you have some locked-in compensation that you can also use to keep your top talent in place. Does that mean they won't leave? They might. But on your own end as an employer, as a team lead, as a supervisor, you try to put all this in place. They are not a silver bullet in any way, but they are strategies that would help you be prepared for, and just help you be prepared to play in the war for talent. Let me give you a slide, one of the research still done by McKinsey that really explains why you need to have your top talent in critical roles as we talk about retaining talent. It says the relationship between the quality of talent and business performance is dramatic. Look at what I have on the screen. And so it talks, it's even that performance gap. So what it says is, if you have top talent in the critical roles, the impact it has on your business is a dramatic one. But it now says that the productivity gap between average performance and high performance is even increasing based on the complexity of the job. You know, we talked about your critical role, and part of your critical role can also be how complex is this job linked to the achievement of our strategy. And so when the complexity of the job is low, there's a 50% performance gap between average performance and high performance. So if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur here who has responsibility for talent, and you have laid back people, you have people of low quality, people who are not, high caliber talent in your most strategic or complex role, you are doing yourself a disservice. The roles that have very high complexity, see what it is, 800% productivity gap. And if you know McKinsey, these are not just figures, they are well-researched figures. I've given you a lot of assignments for the employers on this call. Somebody's that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be taking some of these questions. Stella will decide which questions we can take, and then we'll ask them. So I'm going to just go to my closing so that we can take, okay, maybe I should, before I go to my closing, Stella, let's take the questions. Hello. Please.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
wanted to be sure
questions,
that you could still
questions,
hear me.
questions. Yes. I'm sure we've gotten so much value, like a lot already. So if you have your questions, please let's send them in. So we have some questions already. And then the
Okay.
first question here is, how do employers ensure they manage burnout for their employees? I mean, someone asked that question. How can employers manage burnout?
Okay, so there are different ways you can manage. Let me start with so there's what's very common now is having wellness programs for your employees. And when I say wellness programs, one is just having a structure for it is something you call health management organization where there's a HMO plan where people can go check themselves if they're ill, if they're unwell. If there's a plan, people can walk into the hospital and say, oh, I just feel this way, knowing that they are already covered without waiting to break down before they now go into the hospital because they now know they have to pay cash. So depending on the size of organization, that's almost like a basic that every organization should have. The other thing about managing that is also they're structured organizations. They're actually structured organizations. I'm trying to get the name now that do such things, employee wellness, very structured. A number of them is just for you to have a retainership with them, and they're skilled medical professionals. So when that lady reached out to me saying they had somebody who had, so we're talking burnouts now, who had those tendency for suicide, because sometimes suicide is also a suicidal inclination. It's also linked to burnout, and they don't know what to do. And I just referred to those sort of organizations because they just help. They know how to manage those things, and they also counselors, they're medical practitioners, and they manage that, and they also do mental health. But just bringing in wellness into what you do. Sometimes you can have things as basic as just having a structure of, okay, Wellness Wednesday. Every Wednesday we talk well in the conversations that you have in your meetings. You're asking everybody, how are you? And if people going on leave, just ensuring, making it a point of contact, having a leave plan. You understand? Just having that leave plan and just saying, this is the schedule for each department. At the beginning of the year, everybody plug it in and work towards that. It should be on rare occasions that people would have to move. And when they have to move, even you don't need to tell them. They know, oh, there's this critical thing we didn't see coming, is happening, and there's a guarantee, there's an agreement. Okay, can you take part of it and take the other part later? It shouldn't be an issue that people are now burnt out before they go, and then before they are managed. The other thing I think that you can also do is just being genuinely observant. Being genuinely observant. You understand? As a leader, what's the work? Look at your team. We talked about complex jobs and people, top performers. You'll be shocked that some people are just hiding under others. There are some people who are clocking in times and they're not delivering. Some other persons are taking the workload and then they are burnt out. And in some organizations, unfortunately, it's the ones that are not even doing much. They're the ones that are visible. So in the meetings, they will raise their hands, they will speak all the grammar, speak all the phonetics, say every right thing, and then use others to deliver, such that the others are just bent over doing so much, and before you know it, you hear that somebody is burnt out and the person resigned. Some of them will even resign and they won't tell you why they resigned. So have a wellness practice where you can just talk about wellness issues. People have things around. You can have a program where you talk about, okay, this month we are doing healthy living, healthy eating. Somebody might, there's a champion for it. Just, you can have, okay, how many steps we are counting, a competition, have the prize for the winners. People are, a lot of things are happening. And then have a well-known consultant, that people can speak to independently, if they have issues, because burnout is not only work. Sometimes it's just emotional issues, a lot of load, even outside of work. But because you're an employer, you also have a responsibility to support. So I talked about managing workload. I talked about being genuinely aware of what's happening with your team. I talked about allowing people going on leave. I talked about, initiating wellness programs. I talked about managing the health, the health of your people in terms of having health plans for them, and a lot of other things that you can also consider.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the next question is, I think you already explained this, but I'm not quite sure. I don't know if the person didn't get it. What is exit interview and what is the importance?
What is what?
The importance of exit interview and what an exit interview is.
Oh, okay. So the importance of so let me start with what's an exit interview. An exit interview is an interview that you have, just like an entry interview where you want to recruit people. You're asking them, why do you want to join our organization? What are you looking for in this role? Why should we take you? So an exit interview, somebody has told you I'm leaving, and you want to interview this person and say, how has your experience been with us? So it's an interview you have with somebody who is exiting the organization. And so the importance is coming from the content. The importance is really derived from the content. What should be the content? Things like, so on a very high level, I'm going to ask about what your experience has been with us. Even you can go as far back as, why did you join us? Did we meet what you were looking for? Your aspirations for joining this organization in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that you have joined us. Did we meet it? And mind you, depending, you also need to, let me quickly say this so I don't forget. If you do exit interview over time, you should also have a way to analyze your exit interview. Look at the people that are leaving. How long did they stay? What functions are they leaving from? What are the comments they're saying? Where are they going to? Those things, you don't just do exit. If you're not going to be using the results, then don't do it. If you have those are gold mine that you can use to look at what you should be doing differently as an organization. So when you look at those results, so the questions around, I'm already telling you what the benefits are now, the reason why you should do it. Why are you leaving? You know why they're leaving. You do an aggregate of the people that have left. Why have they left? If it's something beyond your control, but is there something that you could have done to make them stay such that they can still do the thing they are leaving for and still do it here, or do it together? Can you create an hybrid situation for them? Or if they haven't told you why they're leaving, that already even gives you an indication that people are not happy. So when somebody refuses to tell you why I'm leaving, that gives you an indication. And if it continues and you just check, I've done it before where I did an analysis and I went into exit interview function by function. You understand? Realizing, oh, this function, there was a spike during this time, during this leader, during the exit of this leader. A lot of value comes from exit interview. And then you can sit back as a leader and begin to say, what changes can I make here? No matter the size of your organization, there's value that you can get. It can be culture issues, it can be compensation, it can even be your succession planning. When you see that, oh, my middle management are all leaving, and that's the future of the business. So you want to say, okay, how do I now quickly begin to backfill this position so that there's no gap in the business sustainability?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm
Yeah.
sure the one person who asked that question has gotten clarity. Then there's just one more question, and I think this is the last one because I've not gotten any other. So please, if you have your questions, quickly share your question so that we can treat. Time is fast spent already. So this is by Radiant Impact. And he or she says, how can we adopt this principle? I think the principle of what you've been sharing in an organization that engage more freelancers or outsourced talents.
Okay, so when you say, okay, I think it's pretty much, so if it's outsourced talent, it depends on how, when you say outsourced. So usually I would take outsourced to mean that they're not your staff, so you pay an organization that pays them. There's some of the things that I've talked about that you can adopt. If I'm an outsourced talent, I will put it there depending on the brand that I work for. You understand? I'm going to put it there, outsourced to this organization. Some people will even put the organization they were outsourced to and now put it in bracket outsourced, because the brand that organization has is a bigger one or has more value. So I want to say to myself, what are my employee touch points? So as an organization now that has most of the people working for me as outsourced staff, or what's the other word that you freelancers, yes. So it's really it's the touch points with these individuals that matter. So in terms of the culture, when they come to work with us in the environment, how is our culture? I might not be paying them directly, but I'm also paying them indirectly. And I'll give you a practical example. There are organizations that are outsourced that the main organizations pays on time, but the outsourcing organization doesn't pay on time. I experience this all the time. And so you have people working with you in the organization, you've done everything well, but they are not happy because their direct employers aren't treating them well. So you want to check those things. You also want to have interactions with the outsourcing organization to say, these are the level of quality we expect. We're not saying you have to pay them what we pay our staff, but at the minimum, these are employee engagement touch points. These are culture. These are the areas of respect. These are things, you know, I'm not just saying money. I'm talking all the employee engagement touch points. And I'm saying, this is how we work. At the minimum, do they have healthcare plan? You know, just giving an example. If you work in an environment where you see every other thing that all the employees have, and then most or maybe the few employees have these things, and you as an outsourced staff don't have it, it already brings some issues, some elements of dissatisfaction. And increasingly, many of these freelancers or even outsourced staff handle critical information for organizations. I would even say, be very careful what you give to those staff. I'm not saying not in a detriment, in a negative way, just being that there's some things you can't control. You understand? There's some things you can't control if they are outsourced, but the things you can control that has to do with working within your environment, let it be the same thing that it is for your employees as it is for them. The things you cannot control, because you also have to be mindful. So I'm going HR now. You have to be mindful of dual employment, the risk of dual employment, because there are some benefits you might extend to a freelancer or to an outsourced staff that can imply that's something for another day. That if you do, you have already implied that that's your employee. And if for any reason that person makes any demand in the court of law, if there's any recourse to those benefits you made applicable to those outsourced employee, you are going to be liable. So I'm not able to give all the details here, but just saying that is a very delicate point you want to be very careful about. But just ensure that when people come, they feel valued. They feel valued. Culture is a great issue. Culture is relevant for everybody. And ensure that what is due to them as employees, whatever space they fall in, is actually given to them. For freelancers, just that opportunity to contribute to the purpose of the organization is key. But also, I would say for retention, maybe let's look at the retention. It depends now on the structure that you have, what kind of agreements you have. So for the outsourced staff, it now depends on the agreements you have with the outsourced organization. So the agreement to retain people, you can have those, I talked about locked-in compensation. Locked in, you can also have locked-in clauses to say at every given point in time, if this staff leaves, because you can't tie down with staff anyway, this is what you would do to backfill for us. And it means that for every point in time, you have at least 2 or 3 people ready who have the skills that the people you have outsourced to us have. Those sort of locked-in contract terms will help you to plan your retention as an organization that uses outsourced staff in your operations. I try to balance it from the retention bit and also from retention from you as an organization and from the people wanting to stay with you. That's why I talked about culture, the benefits, and also what you can do in your contract to keep your organization in place. Okay.
Okay, so one more
Stella?
question from Mary Green. She says, I want to ask how to retain volunteer talents, particularly as an NGO.
Okay, so I think that, so I currently support an NGO. And so I can play this in my mind. Really, it's not, first and foremost, let me just say this, not everybody is going to volunteer. It depends on the motive of the person. So depending on the client, there are some clients that if you are volunteering for an NGO, especially for somebody who is looking for work, it's a big deal. So there are people who only want to volunteer or have it because of what you do as an organization. You understand? Not necessarily because they want to be retained. They need it for a particular time. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. But I talked about connecting work to purpose. What you need to do as an NGO is to really put out there what your purpose is and look for people who are like-minded. So in retaining them, they need to be connected to your purpose, not everybody. And we're not talking about staff now, you're saying volunteers. So they're not being paid. There has to be something that I'm seeing that you're doing that I connect with. I'm not just going to support you when I have a lot I'm doing. I'm working, you're not paying me. And it's fine, but there has to be something in it for me. And that's something in it for me. It does not necessarily have to be benefit on my CV. It might just be something that connects to my purpose. Such people are easy to retain. But having met that fundamental thing, the other bit is culture. There's so much I can say about culture. Yeah. So much about I can say. I've already got a hint to wrap up here. So really it's about the culture you have in that NGO. Do they feel that this is their place? Do they feel that you're part of them? And do they also see you as an NGO of integrity? Because we know a lot that happens with NGOs. Do you understand? So do you live by what you say you're doing? The funds that you get, are they seeing people who are committed to your purpose? That's the next level. That's the next thing that will keep them, that retain them, because you're not paying them, your culture, your integrity, and then the ability to learn, the opportunities for them to also learn. Just get them busy, get them involved in key activities. Those are the ways you retain people, particularly in an NGO. So I'm going to go back. Let me close this and then go to my last slide. And really, it's just a quote. And the quote is, you can only score a goal if you are still in the game. So I'm asking employers, I'm asking employees, I'm asking supervisors, I'm asking talent managers, I'm asking everybody who stayed with us through. And the question is your organization still in the game? In this war for talent, are you competing fiercely, or are you just reacting? Are you responding for now or for tomorrow? Is there anything that I've talked about? So I've seen a lot of comments, I've seen a lot of questions, but are there three top things that you're taking from here, especially as not just as an employer, somebody who's committed to the growth of the business? Is there something, top three things that you're going to go from here? I believe that you've taken a lot of notes, and you will say that these are the things we now need to do differently to keep our top talents in critical roles and to ensure that our business continues in terms of success, having the right people in the right place. So the question is, are you still in the game? And this is me. I think this is the right point for me to say another thanks to our host, Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement. Thank you so much again and again and again for every opportunity that you bring. Thank you for being the leader that you are. Thank you for being the inspiring leader that you are. I can say that. I know your employees can say that, and people who have, had one or two things to do
good
can
evening.
say that. Okay, thank you, Stella. And thanks to everybody that has contributed to put this together. I want to say thank you. It's been a great experience so far. And so I'm dropping the mic here. Thanks.
I think someone is trying to ask you a question. Evolve Edge Consult is trying to ask a question.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Victoria. It has been a very wonderful session with you. I've learned a lot as an HR professional and also as a consultant in human resource management. Please, I have this very critical scenario I want to paint. I don't know how you are going to be able to maybe dissolve the issues. There was an interview that I was supposed to, that I actually went for. I passed the first stage, second stage, and I got to the third stage. They were asking me to meet with their chief executive. So they set up a meeting, and it was just 5 minutes. And the guy came on and asked me what's performance and management. I told him, and simply told him that it's development of talents for the future. So he was like, in up into that scenario, he said I should explain what will I do in such an instance. So the way I was talking, at the end of the day, he cut me short. He was like, I am too employee-centered. That if I'm this employee-centered, what am I going to do if I come into the organization to work? That I would just be siding the employees against the organization. And I was like, every organization needs the employees because they're the most important, critical asset of the organization. And I said a lot. based on what you have just told us if this evening. So I don't know, in every other situation, how can somebody balance issues as an HR consultant? How do you balance issues by not being too organization centered or top management centered or too being employee centered? How do you balance issues? Because yes, you have really spoken for employees and you've told CEOs how to manage their employees, but where is the bottom line? Where is the actual ticking point that, you know, as a consultant, you can say this is where the employer, this is what the employer should do, or this is what the employee should. I really don't know, but how do we balance not being too employee-centered or not too being employer-centered? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay. So first, I'm going to say that, thank you very much for that question, but I will say this to you. I'm going to ask that I'm going to answer a bit, but this question is not a question I will answer fully here. One, because of the platform, and one, because it's actually something I need to have further background to your question, but I'll answer a bit. I'll give a bit of an answer just so that everybody takes something home. I will start with saying that your question is the ongoing dilemma of every HR professional. We still discussed this in my office 2 or 3 weeks ago, where, you know, every time, so the people who know me, when they see me, oh, HR. So you're working in everybody, there's that dilemma. Oh, HR, you're on management side, and management feels HR, you're employee centric because you are an employee yourself. So I'll say this, I'll say that it's not peculiar to you. The reason why I think you should reach out to me would be for us to look at how you could have addressed that, you know, the concerns. I think I want to have more details regarding that interview. And the only reason why I want to have that engagement with you, so that if you have the opportunity another time, how you do it. But back to the question, how do you strike that balance? I use the word, 2 words, heart and head. Heart and head. So let me start with heart. Fundamentally, as a HR person, you need to have the right balance of both of them. People should trust you enough that you have their interest at heart. And it comes with the experience they have had of you over time. So I'm talking from the employees now. So that when you bring a policy and you want to implement anything, people are not just saying no, or they're not only doubting or just raising their eyebrow because they feel you're on management side. They are able to see that every time they have worked with you, every time you have shown up for them, you have put your heart into what you're doing for them. Mind you, that's one thing that you need to implement. It's not the only thing you're implementing. So when you are reviewing the policy, did you balance employee need against management need? When you are reviewing salaries, the last time you reviewed salary, what did you do? Did you engage employees? When you were running a new project or going to implement something, did you have employee platforms, employee groups that you engaged to say, what are your pain points? All this over time build trust. So when I say heart, the heartbeat is the trust and the connection you have had with people. Over time, yes, you are responsible to your employer, but you are responsible for your employees. That's the dilemma of HR. So knowing the 2 and the 4 and playing that safe place. The safe place, no, striking that balance, not safe place. Striking the balance is just the balance between your heart and your mind. And your heart is the genuineness of how you bring things to the table. Knowing that there are things that you know as human resources manager or practitioner that the regular employee might not know. And so you would have responsibility to defend some management decision. And then in that end, that's where your head comes in. How do you bring your head into this? What quality of data do you have as a HR practitioner? So if somebody says you are too employee-centric, do you have the data from your exit interview? Just using an example, the people in the last 5 years, the recruitment that you had, the amount you spent on recruitment, the data of what the people in your industry, what they are paying. What quality of data do you have to show to management that this is why we need to take such decision? That's where your head comes in. But if you go and you just use sentimental language, oh, this is what we should be doing, There's no leader. Every leader there's a balance between truth and facts. It is the truth, but show me the facts behind the truth. What are the evidences? Every leader has business sustainability at the back of their mind. And unfortunately, as much as people, I won't use the word unfortunately, but let me take that word back, not unfortunately. The reality is that as much as talent is a critical part of business sustainability, there are other parts of business sustainability that are important to the business leader, to an extent that employee might not be privy to. And that's your role as an employee manager, as an HR manager, to be able to show. So if you haven't been able to do that, that's also an assignment for talent managers on the call. Will you go back and put your processes in place now to say, what is the survey that we had before? If we had not had, what sort of engagement can we now have? Get details from your employees. What are our people saying? Juxtapose them to what you see in the environment, what you get from the associations that you belong to. What are other organizations? You can even put a pool in your HR managers forum. Just do a survey. No, can you help me feel this? What's happening? You're anonymous. Nothing too sensitive. Bring that result. Show your management lead and say, that is head. So it's a balance between heart and head that will help you as a HR leader to be able to navigate that space. I try to give a very high level explanation, but I'm very open to connecting with you further to discuss this. But I think that what I've given is enough detail for anybody on this call to understand. Thank you.
Wow. That was a lot. Thank you very much, ma'am. So what's the best way you'd like people here to connect with you? So if anyone has further questions or seek clarification, they can reach out to you. I think that should be the last slide.
Yes, that should be my last slide. So I do have, I think mostly you can reach out to me on Instagram. I don't know if Victoria is on this call, but if she's on the call, she can. And I think, Stella, you should also have that link. There's a community that we have, Inspired for Impact community, where people can join. It's a WhatsApp group, so you can join and ask any question on career, that you have, can ask, we'll answer those questions. There you can reach me directly. They just put in, this question is for Victoria Ibhawa. I'll answer. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Victoria Ibhawa on LinkedIn. I try once in a while, as regular as I'm able to, post some content on career, personal development on LinkedIn. And so those are the areas. But Instagram, send me a direct message. And then you can also send an email to inspiredforimpact2018@gmail.com. These are the ways you can reach me. And let me also request, for those of you on the call, please go to Instagram now and follow Victoria Ibhawa. That's the best way for you to reach me directly and get the content that I share relating to topics like this. Then you can also join the WhatsApp group. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our time is really fast spent, but we've gotten value. And I don't think there's any place we'd rather be right now than learning all of this. And to know that you're learning this for free means that somebody has paid the price. Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement has shared his relationship with you, and then that relationship take time to build, but then he's sharing this with you for free. And the best that we can do as well is to also connect with him on the various social media platforms where he's on Instagram, OLADIPUPO Clement, on YouTube, where he shares content every Saturday at 9 p.m. OLADIPUPO Clement as well. So do well to subscribe, tell your friends and family how much value you've learned. You can also take screenshots of this screen and also make a post, let people know the value that you've gotten, how June has been phenomenal for you, particularly the weekends, because of winning in business summit. This is also to remind us that Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement has an offer for us. The offer has spanned through the beginning of the month up until now. A bundle that has all of the important products that can transform your life. Like, yes, I mean it literally, transform your life. The Winning in Business Summit bundle offer. So, all of the bundles, like everything in this bundle costs over 648,000 naira, but he's giving you everything at a very, very, very great discount. I don't know what percentage to put, but it's over 200%. So you can get all of its products for 185,000 naira, 200 naira. And you know, the good thing is that's as if you're paying one-off. But you know, like we also said, we understand the times that we're in, and perhaps you haven't planned for this. There's an opportunity for you to pay in installments. And if you be paying in installments, you pay 225,000 naira, and it is spread through 3 months. So it means that every month you pay 75,000 naira. And like we've said or reiterated over and over again, one of the best investments that you can do in and for yourself is to, you know, invest in yourself. Besides just buying shares or buying stock, you also need to invest in yourself, because if you're a better person, then it means that you can produce better results in your life. And just to remind us of some of these bundles, Winning in Business course, you know, Winning in Business course tells you everything about entrepreneurship, the truth, the facts, the myths, everything you need to know. And you know, like we said, OLADIPUPO Clement, Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement, OC for short, has been there. He has done that. He has close to or over 2 decades of experience. So you can leverage that and, you know, get a growth hack in your business. We also have the book Financial Freedom Master Guide. We also have the course Financial Freedom Master Class, the course as well, where it talks about how you can be, how you can do, and how you can have. So it means that if you want to attain financial freedom or financial independence, there are 3 paths that you need to go. You also have planning your life. You know, some of us think that success is accidental. Success is actually not accidental. It is intentional, and everyone can achieve this. So there's a way to go. There's a framework, and you know, Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement has this in his book, and also in the course. He has also the vision board course talking about seductive goal setting. Some of us don't know that. Seductive goal setting, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is a type of goal setting that is unique and that is proprietary to him. And, you know, he has given you so much value already, so you should be able to pay for this value. I wish I could go on and on. He's the author of several books. Just before you start that business, retirement planning, there's a lot of value that you can get. He also has this community, the Tribe of the Wealthy Origin. But you know, the only way you can become a part of this is if you continually follow and subscribe to several initiatives that is going to be rolling out going forward. I trust it has been an amazing time for us in the month of June. And you know, you can catch all the replay. You can catch all the replay on YouTube. You just need to subscribe and follow, and you know, you'll be better for it. Buy the products as well. I'm sure our convener has something to say to us. Over to you, Dr. OLADIPUPO Clement.
Couldn't have done it better than you did it, and thank you very much. Big thanks to my dear friend and sister, Victoria Ibhawa. That was off the hook. You know, that was off the hook. I mean, we couldn't have gotten it better than the way she shared it. And you can sense, you can feel our energy, you can feel our passion. Thank you so much. Thank you deeply for your commitment, for your integrity, for everything. And thank you also for the relationship. I deeply appreciate you and value you greatly, and your family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who have stayed for this long. Those of you who have participated since the beginning of this program, I want to deeply appreciate you all. I'm sure you've drawn value, and just in case you missed on any of the editions, I would encourage, just like Stella shared, that we'll go back and catch up with the replay on my YouTube channel, OLADIPUPO Clement. The video for yesterday will start premiering by 7 p.m. today, so you may want to just go on that channel and click on notify me, so that the moment it starts to premiere, you'll be notified. And also, every Saturday, like Stella also mentioned, I drop weekly content on that channel that will help you. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, you can see that much of the session, much of the presentation today was focused more on us, those of us who employ people, entrepreneurs, business owners, and we have human capital. We have people working with us or working for us, as the case may be. So you want to know why you're not making sales. You will see that in the video today, to be dropping by 9 p.m. So just subscribe to that channel, and then if you find any content there that you consider very valuable, I'd recommend that you share, with people within your network, and feel free to also comment or ask questions. At my earliest convenience, I'm going to be responding to that. I wouldn't want to say much, but let's take advantage of all the opportunities that are on this platform. And then we have your data, we have your contacts, and we'll be reaching out to you from time to time. So please, you still have throughout the rest of this month to partake of all the offers that have been made, and we'll be glad that you did. Thank you very much, everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in our other events and initiatives. Have a wonderful June. Thank you.
Thank you. Sign out.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ade Deborah, Davidson, Eke James, Elizabeth, Franklin, Ismail,